So I've never taken any VC money. I have never raised capital at all, but I've been able to make over $300,000 online from digital products, services, all of that stuff. I'm gonna break down my process and what has worked for me. What's up, people? I'm Chris. Welcome back to the channel. And you see the other videos on this channel. I talk a lot about the business side of things because that's what I love. I enjoy researching and learning about these things and sharing it with you all. But I realized that I haven't shared enough of my story. For context, I've been an entrepreneur since 12 years old. I used to take the paper food stamps to Smart and Final, and I would literally buy snacks and put them in my gym bag and sell them at school. I was the one making CDs on LimeWire. Once the CDs went out, I was uploading music onto people's MP3 players. In high school, I was writing people's papers for money. I've always been getting to this money, man. But in this digital world, there was a real rough patch where I had to figure things out. And now I'm at the point where it's more consistent, more constructive, allows me to provide for my family. So I want to break down what has worked for me to go from the struggling part and not making money consistently or not enough to where I am now. So I did have a point when I first started making content online. This was around 2014, 2015, when I started podcasting. I didn't know what it was. One day I was on Twitter just talking hoops and stuff, and I got invited onto a radio show. I said, I'll go on a radio show. Let me see what's up with it. Go on the show and had the time of my life. It was fun. I had been in basketball at that point my entire life, right? Always playing, always in the gym. I used to drive in LA. I used to drive to all the most dangerous neighborhoods when I got my car. And I was hooping in everybody's gyms. In Bloods, Crips, I was everywhere. I was in the Nickerson Gardens. I would be in the PJs. I played at Ted Watkins was like my home gym with the Hacienda Bloods and some of the Grape Streets. So like when I say I was everywhere, I mean I was everywhere. And that made making the basketball content easy. I get off the radio, people love it. They ask me, do I have a podcast? And I'm like, no, I started my show. When I started that show, I started getting sponsors nearly immediately. It was practically overnight. Honestly, literally overnight. I have a picture of me exhausted. I put it up here. And my lady took this picture because I spent maybe 12 hours making my first show logo and it sucked. It was terrible. And that was an important phase because it really built up my spirit and dedication to this content thing. That was my first logo I ever made. And it still got me sponsors. I still started making money. I was making about 15 bucks an episode. Nothing crazy, but think about it. If you've been talking about something and planning it your entire life, and all of a sudden now you get paid, it's like anything you get paid is good money. Then I was doing 3 episodes a week. So I was like, oh, this is a cool little pocket change. Then I got to the point where the deals started getting bigger, where it went to bucks an episode. At one point, it got to like 150 per episode, which is just insane to think about. Like that's like actual money, like full-time job money. This is when I realized, okay, this podcast thing can be profitable. Really failed. And I thought I would make enough money, but it went all bad. And it wasn't consistent. And what happened was one day I woke up like usual, turned my computer on. I think I'm about to start working. My computer doesn't come on. And this is before we had all the AI tools and the cloud, and it wasn't the way it is now. That's how long ago this was, bro. I'm talking about Blog Talk Radio days, recording on Skype and Uvu. I know some of y'all know what that is. That's how long ago this was. And none of my content was saved in the cloud or anything. It was only on my computer. And I had a 10-plus-year-old MacBook. It just never turned on again. I lost all my content, which meant I couldn't even communicate with the brands, right? And all I could tell them is, yeah, I don't have any of my equipment right now. And the deals just fell through and I lost everything within one morning. I had never been so devastated because it was so out of my control. I didn't make nearly enough money to just, go and buy a new computer. I didn't have 2, 3 grand laying around to do that. So it was one of the worst experiences ever, but it did teach me a lot. Like I'll never forget coming outside my house and my car got repoed because I couldn't pay my bill. I couldn't pay the car note. So I came downstairs one day, looked in my spot, and my car was gone. And I'm just standing there looking around like, where's my car at? And it's gone now. And I knew it was going to happen. So I wasn't that mad, but I realized, okay, if I'm going to do this entrepreneur thing, I got to really, really get on it. Now, that was just one of my terrible experiences in like the first 3 to 4 years of my entrepreneurial journey as an adult. It was absolute turmoil and chaos. I think in the beginning stage of entrepreneurship, you're really finding your path, right? And kind of how I break this down is you need to have ways to make money consistently. You need to have ways to make big money, like a big chunk of money, and then your long-term plays. And I'm at the point now where I have that. So I'm going to break down what that looks like for me. Okay, so at the bottom level, this is what I call the baseline revenue. Think of the baseline revenue as your basic expenses every month. You have to make this amount of money per month for you to live and survive comfortably. Now, this doesn't mean that you can pay for vacations and go shopping every weekend. And I'm not talking about that. I'm saying if you got the rent, car note, Wi-Fi, all of that stuff, package that up, have a breakdown of, okay, this is $4,000 a month. That's how much you need to make from what you're doing in entrepreneurship for you to survive. This should be predictable revenue. This is where communities come in very valuable, consistent partnerships, like not just brand deals, but partnerships with brands. Affiliate relationships become useful here because you're selling other people's stuff and they pay you a ton of money for that, at least in mine. I'll share some of mine in a second, but I want to just give you a perspective of what this is. So if you break down your monthly expenses and you know I need to make 4 grand a month, okay, cool. That's the baseline. Now you need to make sure you have the offer set up so you can make that 4 grand per month. Now, for me, what this looks like is not the usual stuff that people have, right? I'm not selling a bunch of courses and all of that. I have the Next Round Ready brand and I have one digital product there and one service. Super simple. I know come hella high water, I'm going to sell those digital products to maybe 5 to 8 founders per month. And then all I need to do is sell two of my main offer and I make well over what I need to make monthly. Very simple. I think that's the easiest way to win in entrepreneurship. It's the easiest way is to have that baseline of what you need and then shoot to double it every month with your basic offers. I'm not saying there's 15, there's 20 things. No, it's one digital product and then one consulting offer. That's it. Now, the next one is what I call the surge engine. This is that big chunk of change. This is that bigger offer where you're delivering more value, you're offering more solutions to the problem, you're more hands-on. And this is something I think every entrepreneur has to have. Because if you do have a crazy month or something happens in the economy, the world, whatever, you want to have something where if you close one of these deals, it can cover you for months on end. Think about that. And this is something that I really took, man, it took months to really figure this out of like, what does that system look like? Because everybody will tell you to charge higher prices and make a high ticket product and all of that crap. But the truth is, you got to have a problem that is 10x what you're charging. So if the problem is a $10,000 problem and it can have a $100,000 outcome, it's a whole different ballgame. And I'll give you perspective for mine. I work with some founders to help them raise capital for their startup. So if you work with me, right, for example, and you have an idea, I help you package this up. I even connect you with some investors that have been on my podcast and you want to raise $1 million. Now, I'm not going to take a raise fee, a percentage of what you raise because that is illegal. I'm not doing that. But if you pay me, let's say 5 grand and I help you raise $1 million, does that not seem like a fair exchange? If anything, you're getting way more value from me than I am from you. That's the kind of offer you want to have where it's a no-brainer thing. When you have a no-brainer offer like that, it can make you so much money because now people don't even have to think about it. And then once you get one person a result with that no-brainer offer, it becomes more compelling. Now you can raise the price, so you can take on less clients and get them even better results. So that's what that surge level is. You got to have something that's huge, that's just almost otherworldly. And that's where you lose your competition to. Because I figure that I've learned this in time. When you start getting better at solving a problem at that higher level, it opens up doors that you aren't even thinking about that logically in the beginning. In the beginning, you're probably thinking, now I got to make this money. I need to make this money. But once you start thinking about it, like, what problem can I solve at this next level where people have to pay me? What's a $25,000 problem that my customer faces? Really think about that. And I'm telling you, bro, I turn on Whisper Flow on my phone and I just went on walks for a while to figure it out and talk it out and think out loud. Yes, they have problems and I can help them in these ways, but those are all $100 problems, maybe $1,000 problem. What's that 50,000, that $100,000 problem? I'll give you an example. The typical fitness trainer online right now is just a trainer, right? They just train people. I'm going to help you get in shape. Blah, everybody says that. Imagine if you were a fitness trainer for somebody who has to have the bypass surgery, or they will literally think about how impactful that is. You're not just a trainer. You only train people who are trying to lose the ridiculous of weight. Really think that's a whole different world. You only work with people who are trying to lose 200 pounds or more, who are up for bypass surgery or liposuction, whatever it is. I don't know all the details on it, but just those kind of people who they aren't just, oh, I'm postpartum and I'm trying to lose some weight. No, 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 no. You're only working with the people who need to lose weight or their life is over. You create a whole different market for yourself. And then once you get one person in that field to lose that weight, you can charge whatever you want to. They would pay that fee. Their family and friends will pay that fee. Their significant, they have anybody that will pay that fee. If you charge 20 grand for that, yeah, you pay me 20 grand, but I'm gonna help you lose this weight within 6, 9 months, a year, whatever it is. It's an example. Don't kill me in the comments. That's the kind of offer you have to have. That's the kind of specificity you have to really be profitable in this. Everybody wants to do the easy thing of, I'm going to create an ebook. I'm going to create this course here, there. And the reason why that shit don't sell, because everybody does it. You know, it's harder to figure out the problem you can solve for a very specific group of people who have a dire problem. And you got to think about their problems from that point of view. That's an insane problem to have. If I don't lose this weight, I could lose my life. Oh my goodness. Those people will pay that fee. So that's the surgical offer. Now, the enterprise level, this is that top tier thing you can do to make money long term, to get the biggest outcomes. I thought about this because when you're an entrepreneur, bro, we don't have the typical 401ks, and you can still go and invest in everything. Obviously, you can do that. You should. But I was thinking, what is it that I can do with my skill set where I can invest in something long term and get that outcome? Almost gambling in a sense. Some people call it gambling. But what can I do now that can pay off in the next 5, 10, 15 years that I don't even have to think about, right? For me, I'll give you my example. I love doing this with advisor positions and with equity. So what I'm doing when I work with startups is I take this company here, company A, to firm B, and I connect them to, right? When firm B invests in company A, I get what's called a carry. There's a percentage on what they invest. So when they invest that money into the company, I'm now part of that because I referred them there. Now, if that company does well in, firm B's portfolio, I get paid out that 20% carry. Notice it's 20%. It ain't look funky too. That 20 is nice, right? So if the company does well and there's a big exit, they get acquired, there's an IPO, I'm going to be up there. I'm in that conversation because I brought the company to the firm. That's like the long-term play though. If I just did that, I wouldn't make any money today. That's the thing about the enterprise level is you still have to do it because it's like planting seeds. You're planting seeds for a tree that you might not even see. It's that deep. It is because that long-term play, that long-term outlook it's a longer term investment. But this is the harder part of entrepreneurship is you have to think ahead like that. I'm thinking about when my kids go to college, I got to make sure I got all these other plays set up. And the beautiful thing about the position I created for myself is, bro, now I can bring endless companies to endless firms. And if everybody just keep connecting and investing, I'm going to have the carry percentage in a ton of different companies. So whenever a company goes public or they blow up, if I'm a part of that somehow, I can win. And I know it seems like I'm overselling it to people who know what I'm talking about. I have to exaggerate so people get what I'm saying. So, but let's just say because of the power law and startups, I help with, 50 companies in like a 3-year time frame. Maybe half of those companies, actually not even half out of 50, maybe like 35 will fail. This is just the truth on the numbers of the startup world. But then out of the 15 that are left, 2 or 3 of them are going to be the real winners, right? 1 or 2 are going to just dominate. And that's where I win. And imagine just waking up one day, you get a check for $250,000, for $500,000 for something you did a decade ago. That's the long-term play. And again, I'm not just doing 50 companies in my life. I'm trying to do like 50 a year. So just think after 5 years, 250 companies, I get 20% carry in all of them. If more than one of those companies blows up and takes off, I can have generational wealth off of one win, off of just one. And that's just one of my enterprise strategies. But I think every entrepreneur has to have one of these. This is a long-term play that I don't think most people are thinking about. So I just wanted to break all of that down for y'all today and show you I'm making money from the content, from the community stuff, from the podcast, all of that. I make money in a lot of different ways on the lower level now, but that's not all it is in entrepreneurship. When I first started off in this, selling candy and all of that stuff, and I knew I wanted to make a ton of money. Even when I played basketball, it was not really about going to the NBA. My thought was I want to own the Lakers. That's where my mindset was. I don't necessarily want to play for them. I want to own the team. That's where I was thinking. And kind of carrying that thinking into what I do now with content, I found a unique way to really operate. And when people ask me what I do, it's hard to answer because I'm doing, I guess you could say content. I guess you could say I'm an investor. It's a bunch of things you could call me. I don't care what you say, just spell my name right. You feel me? I'm getting to it and I'm trying to help other people get to it. So if you want to know more, if y'all like this style of video, let me know down in the comments below. Make sure you join the Raw Entrepreneur newsletter. And I have a community where we talk about stuff like this, really high level entrepreneur type conversations. And it's completely free. You can join us. We usually do the sessions on Tuesdays. Just join the room, ask your questions or whatever, and we just chop it up. We talk money. So if you want to be a part of that, it's free down in the description box down below. I'm Chris. I will see you next time.